Hi family, welcome back to another episode of Soul Seat Conversations, our mental health podcast for resilient humans on the grow. My name is Soliel Lindsey. I am your host and also the owner of Soul Rise Essentials. We are a business that offers and specializes in mental health apparel for the entire family, for little humans and big humans on the grow as well. We offer jewelry, merchandise, apparel, accessories, and it's a vibe. It's colorful, it's bright, as you can see. We are building community, mental health community, healthy community centered around mental health and wellness. That's what we do, y'all. We going global. We located in Richmond, Virginia, but the idea is that we're going to keep this thing going and we are going to be global, because if you have a brain, then you have mental health to manage. So I'm going to let y'all come on in the room. If you are watching the replay, definitely put hashtag replay down in the comments wherever you're watching this at. Why does this podcast exist? Why are we creating community around mental health? Well, we exist to share stories of resilience, to build global community, and for you to discover new ways to thrive via the brave voices of others. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Crystal Jones, and she is actually in my area as well. She is a family and marriage therapist. Y'all, we have therapists come on our little bit of itty bitty old podcast, and it has been a vibe. I just said if you have a brain and you have mental health to manage, that does not exclude your therapist or your counselor, okay? Or even your psychiatrist, honey. They going through it too, but they're figuring it out just like you are, and we can do that in community. So although we have a therapist today who has credentials and designators behind her name, she's taking off that hat today and simply sitting in the soul seat, and we're going to rap. We're going to rap about rest. We're going to rap about a lot of different things. So I'm super excited. I'm going to go ahead and send this live to a couple of people so y'all can come on in the room. I am so excited. I'm actually going to do some announcements before we get started. Y'all know how I do, okay? So if you're listening to the audio, just go on and scroll past, check out the description box and see exactly when we start getting into the conversation. But this is what we do. It's been a while. I've not seen y'all. I have a huge announcement that I want to share with y'all. And I'm actually still kind of on that high right now because it literally just happened. And God be moving, man. That's all I can say. I just got off of a call that was supposed to be in person, but life be lifing, with a delegate in my area. I did not know when I started this business that I would be bumping elbows with therapists, let alone delegates, let alone anybody's politician, okay? But life has a way of just unraveling, and I'm just grateful to be in the position that I'm in. For you, those of you who don't know, I am a single mom, and so the meeting that we had today was centered around a possible legislature for support of single moms and single dads as well. So I would not have been able to successfully bootstrap my business. I could have done it. It would be a little challenging, but there's an awesome organization in Richmond, Virginia called the Forward Foundation that supports working single parents, and they have all the guidelines and criteria on their website. So I just want to do a little commercial break and shout them out. What's up, Barrington? What up, though? Make sure you share this live with some people. They are awesome, and they supported me and my family through the pandemic, and I was able to successfully bootstrap Soul Rise Essentials and start this business because I did not have to do it by myself. They helped me with some resources for childcare for my child, and I saved some money, and I started this business that y'all so lovingly support. So thank you for being part of the Soul Tribe family. But I'll share more about that like later on a different live or maybe on my personal. But thank y'all for listening to that. You can shop our merch, y'all. SoulRiseEssentials.com. This is our Go Do Good, Be Good sweatshirt. Well, it's not a sweatshirt, actually. It's a hoodie sweatshirt. But we actually now have crew neck sweatshirts on the website because y'all have been asking, child. They're on the website. Okay, go get them. All right. Yes, Black Friday is coming up next week. However, you don't have to wait because if you order during Black Friday, it's going to be a little wait. It's going to be a little wait. You're going to get your stuff. You're going to get a really, really good discount this year, but you're going to have to wait. So don't wait, Pookie Bear. Go onto the website and get your hoodies. We have multiple colors. We have gray. We have black. We have like a burnt orange. We have this beautiful gold hoodie. This ain't on the website yet. This one is not there yet. She'll be there soon. Just pause. But I do have them available. So if you want one, this specific color is not on the website. We have like 5 different colors on the website. You can message me. DM me. We got orange too. Not on the website. Miss Green just joined. She has an orange one. Just hit me up. It pays to know people. All right, back to the podcast. So we have got a trigger warning that we always do. We like to do a trigger warning because we discuss, we have fun over here. But we do discuss things pertaining to mental health and wellness. And so different topics may arise, may make certain emotions or memories, pop up. And that's totally fine, baby. You human. If you need to pause or click off, come back, never come back, we understand. Take your time and take care of yourself. So definitely want to say that. And again, I have to say, even though Crystal is a therapist, she's not here today as anyone's therapist. She is here as a thriver, a human with lived experience, sharing her personal story. You can also watch all of our episodes on YouTube. Just type in Soul Seat Conversations, or you can type in Soul Rise Essentials. They will pop up. We have a playlist, podcast playlist on YouTube that you can check out. Lastly, if you have a mental health or resilient story to share on your own, feel free to email us at mystory.com and mystory@soulriseessentials.com. Sorry, I was trying to do something while I was talking. My bad, y'all. And just email us your story, and if it's a good fit, we will reach out and set something up. We do this once a month. And that's all. Crystal, are you ready, boo? Let me get you that. Hey, Ty, long time no see. I was in Atlanta. Would love to see you next time I come back. How you doing? All right, Crystal, I'm for talk show now. The girl loves to talk. If she don't do anything else, she's gonna talk. She's gonna run her mouth. I get paid to do it now, though. Wink.
Let's see. We on. Oh,
Hey, girl. We all, baby.
hi. Can you
How
hear
are
me?
you? Yes. Can
Yes.
you hear me? How you doing? Welcome to the Soul Seat.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm
You
doing
are,
good.
girl, you're popular. Let me tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a podcast flyer shared so many daggone times.
You know, community, community. That's a big thing.
Yes, your community is strong. Well, Crystal, thank you for being here today. Thank you for rapping with me and agreeing to come on and just chat, talk about all things rest, talk about a little bit of your personal journey. I'm super excited to have you here. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling. Let me sit with it because I like to pause about how I'm feeling because sometimes we're on autopilot and it's like I'm good. I'm good. Hold on. Let me pause. But
Yes.
I'm actually feeling good.
Good.
Yeah, feeling
Yes.
really good. I'm
I
excited
love
to.
that you thought about it. And I
Yeah,
also love when
yeah.
I reached out to you right before this, you were like, you always say this anytime we talk, even if it's an email, take care of yourself. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Very intentional, very therapist-like. I love that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I always start off, I have a couple different segments here. And so the first segment, I always start with, we did say, how are you doing? But I always start with the segment where I ask you, how is your mental health today on a scale from 1 to 5? 5 being like, roll up, we doing really good. 1 being like, no, 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 no. So how are you feeling on a scale from 1 to
To,
5? How's your mental health actually?
to be honest with you, I might be at a 5 today, actually. To be very honest with you. I had therapy myself yesterday, so that kind of set me up for some really good success. So I'm feeling really good mentally today. Yeah.
I love that. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
So I love that you also touched on the therapist has a therapist. People say that. I do hear that a lot. I don't know if I hear it a lot because I'm in the space. I love mental health, psychology, wellness, and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
But I don't know if the average person knows that. And I've also heard, tell me how you feel about this, but I've also heard that I've heard people say if your therapist doesn't have a therapist, that's a problem. But how would you know that? What are your thoughts?
I believe that every therapist definitely should have their own therapist. You wouldn't know. I mean, I don't think anybody's therapist would be actually saying in session that they have a therapist, but it is helpful to have because, holding space in that way, it's heavy and you also need space and you're still going through stuff too. You know, um, I loved your disclaimer in the beginning too. I'm also going to give a disclaimer. Although I am a therapist, I'm here in the soul seat, and anything that I say is not therapy advice for anybody watching. I would suggest that you go get your own therapist or talk to your therapist about what you need. Um, Just wanted to set that up right there. But yes, so like it's important because I'm still, I'm human. I go through things too, and I need somebody to talk to as well. And I love it. And I love her.
Yes. I love it. Oh, I love it. We have so
Yeah.
much to discuss. I'm going to go back just a
Yeah.
little bit. And I also like to answer that question for myself. 1 to 5, how's my mental health today? Actually, I'm gonna say about a 4.5. I almost said
Okay.
5 because in this moment I do feel a 5. I always say in this moment, right? I am
Mm-hmm.
at a 5, but like just generally how I've been overall, I would say about a 4.5. Like
Mm-hmm.
really pushing, chugging, getting all my tasks and stuff done. It's been a lot. But I always tell people I don't get nothing done if it's not on that calendar. And that's literally how my life runs. And it's been a lot like on me, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsibility wise, professionally, personally, as a mom, trying to maintain my own stuff, like all the things.
All of the things.
Sheesh. Yeah. I've been at a 3 for like the last couple of months, but we getting up there. Yeah.
But that happens. And being at a 3 is also okay.
Yes. And
Mhm.
being at a 1, not too
Okay.
long, but that's
Okay.
okay too, if that's where you
Yes.
at.
If that's where you're at. Yes.
Yes. Well, again, thank you for being here for
Mhm.
answering that question. So, where I want to start with you, we got a lot. Like, of course, I want to talk to you about your personal journey as well, which is what we talk about on this podcast. But rest is like is that like your thing in life or just like your thing for 2025, 2024? You talk a lot about rest. Why are you talking about that so much?
I Rest is a part of my life. So when I was younger, my grandmother was around a lot. And oftentimes she would we would designate time for like quiet time. You know, I was an active child. And I think that she was just saying that so that I could go sit down somewhere.
Shut up, be quiet, go lay down, go sit down.
Hush, hush. So, she would probably like read some scriptures, or we'll just like sit there and be quiet and just listen in silence. We also had time to play and time to dance and time to be active. But I remember always having time to rest and to reflect and pray. And that, I feel like that is just one of the pillars of what makes me me.
Mm.
Because growing up, as I continued through life, rest was always a priority. Let me tell you something. A nap will save my life.
Yes, yes, yes.
Every time. A nap will save my life. Um, if I'm not well rested, I can't really show up for myself in the way that I would like to,
Mm-hmm.
specifically like myself. Um, so I believe that rest is important, and it it got a little bit more complicated once I don't want to say like real life responsibilities kicked in, but real stuff started to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bit conflicting. And that's when I noticed that some shifts had to be made. But rest has always been a thing. It saves me
Mm.
every time.
I love that you took it all the way back to your grandmother. And I love how intentional she was about
Mm-hmm.
just chilling out and resting. Y'all had
Yes.
times to do certain things. I told my son just this morning and last night, I said, son, have fun. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also a time and place for everything. So
Yes.
I love that. And I love how intentional she was. And it's deeply ingrained into you. Like you still like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And like you said, life's going to get out of whack
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because our demands sometimes increase, sometimes they decrease. That's just life. It ebbs and flows. But being intentional when you notice something is different, you're like, oh, hold up. How can I reprioritize rest? Because it does have to be a priority. And we live in this society where it's like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. No, ma'am, you can't do
Mm-mm.
nothing if you ain't sleeping right. Because you're not doing your best work and your brain's not even functioning where the way it should if you're not resting right.
Exactly. Exactly. I do not subscribe to I'll rest when I'm dead. Because what is that? What are we doing? What
Yeah.
are we doing?
So let's take it back even more. You shared a little bit about your grandmother. So the space
Mm-hmm.
that you're in as a family and marriage therapist, is
Mm-hmm.
that something you've always wanted to do? Like what was little Crystal like?
So little Crystal was very much bouncing around, constantly trying to be in front of a camera, which was that's a whole another story. I originally wanted to be I wanted to be a performer, like on Beyonce level. I wanted to
Oh.
sing and dance and perform because I love that. And still do to this day, you know, but in the car and in the shower, maybe. But that's, I loved everything,
Did you
you
do
know,
like show
Destiny Child.
choir or theater, stuff like
I
that?
sure did. Yep. I ended up doing show choir. I was in chorus for a very long time, but I did do show choir, and that was probably one of show choir was a moment and probably like one of the best moments of my life.
Mm.
Being in that space and having such a wonderful teacher. I just love being on the stage, singing, dancing, theater, Broadway, all of the things. Um, and that is really where like I thrive as far as like
Mm-hmm.
creatively. So that's where I got a lot of the creative
Mm-hmm.
things. But when I went to college, I originally wanted to be a nurse because I wanted to help people. That was that was it. It's always like I want to help people. I want to do something. Um, that ended up not working out, and I was in undergrad at Hampton University, and it didn't work out, and I hit a block. It was like a roadblock. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, what's going to happen. And I ended up taking a class, a psychology class called Intimate Relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that class.
Mm.
Um, that's when I knew I was like, ooh, I want to study more about relationships
Mm.
and specifically relationships in the Black community too, because hearing my classmates and then growing up, it was just a lot of different aspects to relationships and marriage and household and like, oh, this is a two income or two parent household, single parent household. All of
Yeah.
these conversations were coming up and I wanted to explore that some
Mm-hmm.
more. So that's where I actually started my venture, and I ended up um, going on the marriage and family therapy concentration track at
Mm-hmm.
Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I couldn't like my journey continued to blossom, and that's when I knew, okay, I'm gonna do this for real,
That's
for real.
so interesting. And I love how you said it was sparked by a class that you took because, you know, people think the kids 18, 19, 20 supposed to have everything
Mm-hmm.
figured out, but exposure is so,
Yeah.
so important. And I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
about when you were talking like my own journey, the things that I did as a kid and what I ended up doing now. I'm just here. It just happened, right? And for you, I wonder what your life would have been like had you not gone and taken that class. Because, like you said, you thought your dream was to be a performer and to be in the arts and things like that. Do you ever feel like you're missing out? Are you happy with where you are and the profession that you chose? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Kira,
Ooh, that's a good question.
because that's such a very different career. Like where you ended up at is very different from where you thought you were gonna go. So, like, do you try to fulfill that creativity, that creative side at all in other ways?
Yeah, sometimes definitely. I know that I need to move my body. That's a part of what makes me me too. So even in college, I was in dance. So it was a constant like, okay, that's going to be on the side. But I still like if I need to go dance or maybe even like dancing in between sessions or throughout my day. I mean, I have the music going, you know, anywhere, it could be anywhere from Megan Thee Stallion to we're worshiping up in here.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it just
Yeah.
depends. But I am happy that I chose what I chose at the
Mm-hmm.
same time because every path has its own
Yeah.
struggle. And there was a time where I was close to venturing off and like maybe moving to California and venturing off into that space. But I know that also the entertainment world is a little bit different, and it may have been a lot, it would have been a lot different for me
Yeah.
had I went that
Yeah.
way. The path I chose provided me with the tools that I needed necessary for me to continue life in the best way possible.
I like how you put that. Grace put a
Mm-hmm.
comment up early when we were talking about nap. She said, "My nana didn't play about a nap either. I still love a nap." Hello.
Okay.
We took
I
it for
love a
granted.
nap.
I know I did. It sounded like you didn't, but I ain't going to sleep. Now I'll be like, baby, can I catch a nap? Because I would be
Yes,
greater if I did.
yes. Naps restore me like
Yes.
every time. And grandma was like, we're going to be quiet and we're going to lay down. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine.
Are
So
you
it was
from Richmond?
instilled. I am, I've been in Richmond the longest. So what I'll
Okay.
say is I worked in, not worked, I was born in New Jersey.
Yeah, I feel like I get a
Um,
little up north vibe a little bit.
yeah, my family's from up north.
Okay.
So we were in Jersey for a short period of time. And then
Okay.
I ended up moving to California with my family at a young age. And that's kind of when the performance stuff was coming up. And then we ended up moving to Richmond.
Oh, is it Hawk's Drawer or
Yes,
Hack's Drawer? Thank
huh?
thank you for joining us. He joins our podcast from time to time, and I appreciate you.
What's going on? We're in a cohort together.
So Kira
Yes.
is actually one of my best friends, and me and you still have to talk offline about this little thing we supposed to be doing. So she is the person that I was talking to
Oh,
you about as well. So Crystal, meet Kira, Kira, meet Crystal.
yes.
So
Okay.
I want to get into your
Yes.
resiliency story a little bit because we've talked
Mhm.
a little bit about your profession, about your
Mhm.
college experience. Did you also go to Hampton? I didn't go to college, girl, so I don't be knowing what to call these different schools, like graduate school. Did you go to graduate school
Mhm.
for your licensure as well? Well, of
I
course you
went
did,
to
but which school did you go to?
I went to Liberty
Okay.
for grad school.
Now, when
Yeah.
we were talking about your residency and your licensure journey, I know that was a whole thing for you. So I
Mhm.
want to talk about that a little bit since we're already on this track. Why was that so hard? What does that look like? And for anybody listening that has a child that's considering like social work or any type of line of work similar to what Crystal does, please send this to them as some encouragement. My sister actually was in the social work field as well, and I love hearing her talk to people about this. So I want to hear about your journey and why you felt like resiliency was a theme in your life during that time.
So, in grad school, right? It's different because you're learning about all of these things. You're learning about the mental health. You're learning about how to become a therapist in these spaces. And they touched on just slightly about burnout, compassion fatigue, self care. You need to do that, but it wasn't like up in the forefront. It was like a paragraph and a page.
Interesting.
Review that. There were no papers I had to write on self care, compassion fatigue, or burnout. There was no set class. Like, there
Mm,
was no class about how to take care of yourself. And so I'm mentioning that. So, like, that's kind of what I had as I was entering into the work field of mental health. So I graduated. I was excited. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and be out here doing the thing, changing the world. And I had my first job. So typically, when you're a, a graduate out of a program that is centered around, mental health, community, mental health, social work, you start off in the community,
mm-hmm.
which is a wonderful thing. And at the same time, if you're not taking good care of yourself, can be detrimental to you. Um, so, you're fresh. I'm fresh out. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to change the world. We're going to do this thing. I can't wait to do good work in my community.
Very naive,
Amazing.
very in your 20s.
Very much in my 20s,
Yeah.
not knowing. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to be out here just changing the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Get there. It was not anything like I thought it would be. Just it's it's like you're thrown into the wolves, for real. Um, and you're just trying to keep up. I think that was the first time, like that was the first job that I only lasted probably 3 months in.
Mm,
Usually, mm, I stay for a while with jobs, but when I entered into the mental health field, it was different. Like
Mm-hmm.
these jobs, by 3 months, I'm like, oof, I can't do it anymore. There's
Yeah.
something going on. There's something happening. Um, I lasted 3 months there. I got another job in the community. Lasted longer there, but it was still the same feeling of
Mm-hmm.
like I'm doing all of this work, but I still feel drained
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired. I don't feel fulfilled in a way. It's like it was sticky and just like I could feel like the energy kind of like depleting.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm trying to get into residency. So I'm moving through my residency, which means, so for people who don't know, when it comes to licensure and things, undergrad, you do your thing. Grad school, you do your thing. Once you come out of grad school, you also have to uh, get hours
Mm-hmm.
towards licensure. So this is like in the field work, direct client hours. You're doing research, getting supervision. And with my specialty degree, with marriage and family and my licensure, I had to get 3,500
I was
hours.
going to ask you how many hours. That's bananas. That's bananas. Before you can even get your certification, you have to do that.
Before licensure, you have to get those hours and take a
Yeah.
test, which also costs like $300.
Ooh.
Me, also, these jobs were not paying.
Right. Because social work, it doesn't always pay that great,
You
which
know,
is crazy. Y'all should get paid so much more than y'all get paid.
we never go into it for the money because it's not the same. And I will also say, many people, it's so interesting because like people become doctors in the space and we're mental health professionals and we're licensed, and it's very clear like that mental health professionals are the redheaded
Stepchild.
stepchildren of
Absolutely.
healthcare,
Yes.
and it's that in itself. So that was happening, and slowly I was being chipped. Like it was like pieces of myself were being chipped away because of me not feeling prepared entering into these spaces. So but I need to get my hours because I want to be licensed. I need to get in here. So I have to do this,
Mm-hmm.
which is another thing because I personally, I feel like some spaces take advantage of that when it comes to people who need to get hours, people who need schooling interns. It's like, oh, they're going to do it because they need these hours. So we're going to give
They
them a
want to try to do the
caseload
stuff
of,
that nobody really wants to do because they in the field and they know it's raggedy. I hate to use that word, but nobody want to do that.
I'm
It's
not
hard
going to do
work.
that. We're going to go ahead. You can take that big old caseload. You got it. It's okay. And I started to feel like I was losing my mind
Mm.
because, like I said, grandma prioritized rest, play, different things. We can do all of the things. I wasn't getting a lot of rest. Things weren't fun, really. Chipping away. So when I would speak up and say, like, oh, I don't know, this is kind of, I'm tired, or like I'm feeling like I'm losing my mind. And I think about, I don't know if you've seen Megan Thee Stallion's
Not
documentary
yet, but
on
I want to watch it
Prime.
so bad.
She mentioned something in there where she talks about how she's like, I feel like I'm losing my mind, and nobody was listening to her, and that's when she took action for herself to do things. That's kind of how it felt. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't feel right in my body,
Wow.
and I'm like, supposed to is this
Right.
just
Did
what this is
everybody go
supposed
through
to
this?
be?
Everybody else? They ain't say nothing? This normal?
Everybody was just moving like, oh yeah, that's what it's like, and I'm like, why?
The irony of it all. The reason you go into your field is to help people dealing with some of the same stuff, but it's almost like an induction. You got to go through it first.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So that means something that is built into that infrastructure of how you even get your license. It ain't working, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody's talking about it. Well, I guess people probably are somewhere
Mm-hmm.
that I just don't know about, but that's bananas.
Yeah, and it was really like locking into like because it was just the norm, and that was a problem for me. I was like, I don't want this to be the norm. This is crazy. I'm going through, and I'm supposed to be out here helping folk go through. I won't even mention how there are so many coping skills, there are so many coping
Yeah.
mechanisms, and all of the things that I can offer. But sometimes it's not about the coping skills, and it's about the system.
Yes.
It's about the environment.
Yes.
It's about the resources.
Yes.
Period. And a lot of times I felt stuck. Like I was like, no, this isn't a you thing. This is a
Mm-hmm.
system thing
Mm-hmm.
that's being set up.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of that naive side was kind of taken, and I was learning more about what was actually going on. So
Can you hear me, Crystal?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I was getting a call. I thought I put the thing on Do Not Disturb, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. So yeah, that's like starting off there and then going through and kind of being chipped away a little bit more and a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. Um, and then I think I had gotten another job. So I think this is really where the breaking point was when
Mm-hmm.
I was working in private practice when 2020 happened. So, everybody was like, "Oh, 2020 vision. This is about to be my year. Oh yeah,
Baby,
get it
the
going."
vision got broke before it got clear.
It got broke before it got clear. The pandemic. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
this is this is something real.
Yeah.
So going through that personally and also holding space for clients who are also going through it.
Woo, girl. I would have lost my mind, I'm gonna tell you right there, because everybody's capacity just a little bit different.
It was, I was stumbling around, because we had to do things virtually. So we had to quickly shift from in person to virtual. I'm over here stacking books up on a TV stand with my little laptop that I had just gotten. And I downgraded my laptop. I got a new one. I was like, I'm not going to need all of this
Mm-mm.
anymore. Yeah, no, I absolutely needed all of the things.
Yeah.
So trying to navigate that and set up and hold space in that way while getting my hours, continuing to work in the space. Private practice was a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
than it was like community mental health,
Mm-hmm.
but that still had its own challenges because along with COVID, there was a lot of tension that was occurring because of Black Lives Matter and things that were coming up and conversations that were
It
had.
was heavy.
And I had experienced some workplace tension. So that was also coming up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of this in the mix um, while going through it. And still, I hadn't really dove in on the work that I needed to do specifically to kind of get myself back.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that was happening. But I mean, we were all going through it, just trying to make it through day by day,
And you
holding
ended up
space.
getting pregnant during this time?
Oh yes. So I also I had gotten
Yeah.
engaged, um, and we were planning the wedding, and I was planning a destination wedding, and we were about to put the deposit down, and
Woo.
that's when the travel agent called and was like, "Have you seen the news?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" Saw the news, and that's kind of where it started to kind of like I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this." That holding space, hours. Um, I ended up getting married and then getting pregnant. I got married, got licensed,
Mm-hmm.
got pregnant. had a baby,
Girl, girl.
moved.
Who told y'all to go and get pregnant on top of all of that?
I don't know. I don't know. People just, it's kind of
The
like
things we happen.
when you get married and people are like, oh, when's the baby
Yeah.
coming? Oh, where's the, you're getting old. Like, it's
The baby actually came.
right. It actually came. So that was another layer of like motherhood.
Girl, that's a lot. You were juggling a lot. And there, I'm sure, of course, no relationship is perfect. Marriage is a whole different level. But
Mm-hmm.
even finding out that now you got to stay with your partner and can't nobody go nowhere, and it's a new like marriage, like that's a whole different element as well.
Yeah,
And
like
y'all were hoping to have a wedding, destination, invite everybody. Like that's a whole lot.
mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
was a lot of disappointment,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
It was a lot of disappointment and working through that grief too. Um, and grief, comes up every now and again. Still, like, oh, what do you
And
mean?
not to get too personal,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure that you and your partner got to know each other in ways y'all probably would have never gotten to know each other as quickly during the pandemic because that was a collective trauma that everybody experienced. And then on
Mm-hmm.
top of all these other things you're saying that you were experiencing, you can't go nowhere. There was
No,
nowhere to go.
no.
So, your back is up against the wall. We all felt that way. And so that brings out different sides of our personalities, and you're human. You've gone through other things in your life. I'm sure that was a challenge as well.
Yes, because you're, with each other all the time. There's nowhere to go. We had to get creative as far as like what we're gonna do. Let's try new hobbies. What does this look like? But then also like I would also like my time.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like that's
Yeah.
also important. But being in that space and then also going through it, like going through it and going through this new thing and then going through like the waves, it
Yes.
does offer an opportunity for vulnerability though, like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
connection to
Yes.
really like dive in that space and being curious. Um, but it's
Yeah.
still a challenge because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was
I like that
something.
you use that word being curious. That is a really
Mhm.
good way to problem solve in any situation.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me think about it. Instead of reacting. And it's not always easy to do, especially in the moment, but it's like,
Mhm.
let me get curious. You having a bad day. You need some space. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I wanted to
Yes.
read a couple comments real quick. So shout out to Hockey said the Soul Seed podcast is a gem. Thank you so much. You do need
Yes,
to grab
Hawk.
some merch. What you waiting on, baby? The website is soulriseessentials.com. And if you sign up
Yes.
and get on our email or text list, you'll get a 15% off code. And he was also saying the work that you do takes a lot of real strength. Yeah, because he said you're dealing with the reality of other human stuff, people's stuff. Hey, Amira. Yeah, let me tell you something. That work that y'all do, it is reserved for a very special kind of person. Also, on the flip side, I want to mention this because we're talking about like your personal life, the things that you experience, how resilience has played a part. And you also shared about how strenuous that process is in residency and how it takes a toll on your mental health. And I'm gonna add this caveat: you are in your 20s at the time going through life. In your 20s, a lot of people actually, I've shared this on my podcast, actually, if they go off to school and in college, there's new changes, they're away from their family, that can actually induce some type of mental health responses in some people who are already predisposition or whatever. I'm trying to use big words
Mhm.
to even have that happen to them. So that's another barrier as well. So you young, you haven't even started to process life and who you are yet. And you're experiencing all these changes. You probably haven't even gotten to a space where you have addressed any personal traumas you've gone into. You're going through licensure, you're going through this pandemic thing, you're going through major family changes and marriage and having a bit. That's a lot. But I say all that to say that people forget that therapists and counselors and people in the social work space are just people as well.
Yeah.
On top of that, you guys can also experience bouts with poor mental health.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that? And how do you show up in your work if that's happening?
Yeah. So we're taught to leave it at the door. And basically, that's why it's important for therapists who have their own therapist so that they're able to process those things so it doesn't show up in session.
Yeah.
So that you are a neutral party. You're just there for the client. What is the client going through? And at the same time, we're human. So sometimes that slips up, and sometimes things are either said or something's done wrong or you disclose a little bit too much. I mean, it happens, really. And it's really just getting back on that horse and coming back to like, all right, coming back to center. What hat do I have on? Am I on therapist hat mode? Am I on mommy mode? Wife mode? What's happening? And it's really coming back to that. One thing I will say is, even up until recently, I have added like additional practices to kind of contain that a little bit more, because of what I've learned and how like stressful it can be to do this work, to hold space in this way. It's important for me to be able to hold it and not, fall apart or just take it. That's the goal. Can I take it? Do I have the capacity to take it? So sometimes, like in the before sessions, so there was something that I did after like my last job is when I started my business, because I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't like this and I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Don't have to. And I had the support from my partner, like, go ahead, let's do it. And this was shortly after having baby. Let's just do it. Deciding, okay, I'm gonna go full time with this. I'm gonna go full time so that I can carve out the time that I need to also take care of myself. And I will never go back. Let me tell you, I am very intentional about the time before and after sessions. I used to do like back to back to back to back to back because, fun.
Get this money.
And you right. And at the same time, am I doing quality work? Am I really doing the work that I would like to do? And if I'm starting to feel any type of resentment or some type of way towards the people who are looking to me to seek help, I need to check myself. I need to figure it out. Checking myself looks like, oh, I need some time before session a little bit. I need some time afterwards, because I also recognize that I'm an empathetic person and can be highly sensitive to certain things and energies. So in order for that, I need to protect myself in certain ways and have certain practices so that I'm not really keeping it. Even like finding space to move my body, if that's like yoga and different things, like afterwards, releasing it.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was actually going to ask you, for people listening, what does that actually look like? And of course, you don't have to share everything, but like, how do you rid yourself of that energy that does not belong to you? Because I'm sure you hear some things that like you wish you probably could unhear. And so, people have this little woo-woo for some people, but we do all have aura and energy fields, and energy is real. And what does that look like for you in practice? I know you said you move your body and the yoga, and the purpose of that, I'm sure, is to move that stagnant energy to get it on, get it flowing so it can have somewhere to go. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, definitely that. I also will say that my grandmother was also a very spiritual being, and there are different things that I'm recognizing that I do that she used to do, and I'm like, oh, she was just doing wow.
Right. She might have called it something else, but it was also that.
I'm just returning back to my roots. That's it. It's the things that are already in me that I can do. That's the self-care. And some of those things look like, it can be as simple as like, if I'm in the office and I have a session and we're ending the session, let the client out, I leave the door open for a little bit to kind of just, let's get everything out, kind of rubbing my hands together, generating heat, kind of just like moving my body a little bit, because sometimes it's like, all right, somebody's coming in I'm taking on the things. Let's take it on. Let's give it to me. But then I take it and I release it out. I
That's
give it
right.
back.
Yes.
I give it back to God, to the earth. We go ahead and do something with that, or leave
Okay.
it on the mat and shake it out. There are certain
Mhm.
things that I'll just shake out, roll my neck. Um, Sometimes it looks like singing a song, maybe some praise and worship to kind of just let it out.
Mhm.
Sometimes it also looks like weeping.
Because that's a release
I
as well.
It's a
Mhm.
release. Although there's a certain boundary for the therapeutic
Mhm.
relationship, it's still a relationship.
And you're still
And I
human. Yeah.
still human, still care for people. I love my clients. Of course, I'm going to feel certain things at certain times. So sometimes it looks
Hmm.
like that, and it
I
can.
love that. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you for sharing that. I see a
Yeah.
comment. AP Styles, hey girl.
Yes.
She says definitely have to have peace in your purpose. That is
Yes.
good.
Yes.
What a profound statement. Peace in your purpose. Because like you said, even starting a business and going into entrepreneurship, that's a whole set of other challenges as well. So that's something on top of all the other things that you had going on. But we get to, as business owners, entrepreneurs, problem solvers, we get to solve problems within our own life, which is okay, what does schedule about to look like? There will be a season of grind because sometimes it's just like that. There also
Yes.
should be a season of rest. And even if that quote unquote season looks like, I'm going to try to get a nap in at least once this week, then that's
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do, or
Yes.
whatever that looks like for you. But we get to control how our schedules look like for the most part,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's just a luxury that you don't have
Yes.
all the time when you're at the mercy of somebody else and their schedule and their business and their bottom
Yes.
dollar.
Exactly, exactly. And I love the flexibility of being able to schedule out that time for rest because it's so critical. Like that's what brought me back and put those pieces back together when I realized, like, oh, I'm not actually doing what I want or listening to what my body is trying to tell me. Like,
Yes, and I want to say this too. When we say rest, it's not just a nap.
mm-mm,
It's a
mm-mm,
pause.
mm-hmm,
It's a chill out.
mm-hmm.
It's a close your eyes. It's a
Yes,
take a deep breath.
yes,
It's a light
yes.
a candle or some incense. It's go walk in the
Mm-hmm,
grass for a second with no
mm-hmm.
shoes on. You
Go
know what I'm
touch some
saying? Just
grass.
returning to center. That's how I view it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I view it too. It doesn't have to be sleep all the time, although sleep is great. Rest
Yes.
can look differently. It could be just reading a book. It could be rest could also look like being in community with other people. Like even with my girlfriends, we just had a pajama night
I love
together.
it. Yeah.
Literally, that was a form of rest for me because I was like, wow, I'm really like being poured into. I'm pouring into them. It's just like, oh, this is
Yeah.
great. I miss y'all, like being in community in that way. So rest doesn't have to look like this. It's just a way to return back and to slow down because society has us thinking that we need to constantly. We're not machines.
You know what I forgot to do, Crystal? Lord have
Oh,
mercy. Child, I
yeah.
forgot to do my segment. I think we can pause and do this and give an
Mm-hmm.
example of what rest can look like. I do box breathing here.
Oh,
And we normally do it at
yes.
the beginning, but I was excited, child. I was telling you about the things I was doing before I got on the call.
Yes.
But breathe my method that I choose here because it's accessible, it's quick, and I do it personally all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
breathing in for 4, holding for 4, releasing for 4. Would you like to guide us through that?
Oh, not on the spot. I would love to.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
Before we do that, let me read a couple comments just in case we get more, we get backed up. But being all that I can be, love that name. She said, I like that. I'm finding that I'm more empathetic than I thought I was. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes, yes. And I'm hoping that you find ways to navigate through that because there are ways, even though we can be empathetic, but also learning to release and being in control of our own energy and not attaching ourselves to others all the time. It's practices that you can do and learn. Thank you for sharing that. Abba girl, this is your auntie Bravanda. She said,
Oh,
hey.
hey, Auntie.
Amira, hey bestie. She says it's so important. Definitely need the reminder. Auntie said it's a PJ day. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Amira says,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also saying no. Love
Yes.
it. being all that I can be says I receive that. Thank you. You are so welcome. We're going to let Crystal lead us into a quick little box breathing pause because we got off track a little bit. We're going to bring it back.
Yeah, we bring it back to self. So everybody find a comfortable position to be in your body, a comfortable way to be. And you can either close your eyes or find a soft gaze, whichever is comfortable for you. And just notice the body. Notice how it's showing up. Noticing the breath, bringing awareness to that. As we enter into our box breathing, we will inhale for 4, we will hold for 4, and we will exhale for 4. Taking a couple of breaths, releasing out the mouth. One more time. Inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. Moving into our box breathing. So inhaling for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that one more time. Ready? Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. When you're ready, flutter the eyes open and return back to the space.
Yes, I feel so relaxed.
Good.
I needed that. That was beautiful. That's much better than what I be doing. Thank you. That's why we need a little therapist to come on here every once in a while. Bring us on back.
Wow. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I love a good breathing technique.
It's so relaxing. She
Mm-hmm.
said, Amanda said, Shy needed that. Oh my God.
Okay. And it can be as simple as that, like literally 30 seconds. Just take a moment. Let me see what my body's doing. Is my breath rapid or is it slow? Let's do some breathing.
I just got a shirt idea in my head. Let me write it down. Hold on real quick.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I know it. Entrepreneur brain. That's how it goes.
Listen.
I got like 4 notebooks.
Yes. Okay, I got it. So we were talking about rest and the different ways that it can look. Now, I want to chat about let's get more into, because we don't have that much time left, but I want to get into personal conversations centered around therapy and just our thoughts and opinions about certain things. So I have on here as a note when we did our pre-interview, for some reason we were talking about people, like, in light of rest and in light of taking care of ourselves, we're going to assume that the folk in the Soul Tribe family are already on this healing and wellness journey. That's what our community is all about. And so in light of that, I've said this a lot on my podcast, that sometimes, and this could be a natural part of some people's journeys, but sometimes we get very, 2 things I want to say. We get very selfish and we forget about the part of our healing journey that includes community. And I do think it's a little healthiness in that, going through that selfish season a little bit. If you've a person that has experienced or struggled with like people pleasing, we'll throw that out there. I think you do need a little selfish season, you know? Those are my thoughts. I'm not the therapist, just saying. But hoping you come out of that and remember that community is also part of healing. If you go back and do studies on ancient healing and different cultures, it's communal. It can look like that as well. On the other side of that, there are people that get so addicted to having the help, doing all the things, and over spiritualizing, and somebody even said over therapizing. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a thing as well. And so I feel like sometimes people can use therapy as a crutch, and it's not healthy. I have not seen my therapist in a very long time. And I'm actually, for me, in my season right now, I'm surprised. And I'm proud of myself low key. Because any little damn thing that would inconvenience me, I'm on the phone, like trying to call this lady. And I had to step back. I'm like, wait, girl, you are an adult. You know the work. You're doing the work. You've done the work. Why are you still so dysregulated? So I had to check myself. And I still struggle with this. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But the fact that I have not felt like I needed to just get on that call, I'm proud of myself. Because I do believe I was like, well, what you gonna do if she close her practice? Because you really vibing with her. What you gonna do if she get pregnant? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I'm just like, girl, figure it out. You have the tools. You have seen as many therapists as you probably need to see right now. They've all given you tools. They've all given you different perspectives. So what are the tools? Go back to your notes. And I relate that to my entrepreneurial journey as well. I'm in a season where I pause to implement. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I wanted to bring that up and just kind of start a conversation around that and hear your thoughts.
Yes. I mean, ultimately, like the goal, especially like what we learn is like, oh, you want your client to be able to thrive without you. And at the same time, nobody prepared us for a pandemic and all of the other things that come with it. So sometimes it does take a little longer, and sometimes you need more people to, I mean, you need that support in that way. And at the same time, it's like, okay, what are you doing? Or like talk to yourself first, seeing if you can navigate that
Yes.
first. And then, like, or even to the point where it's like, oh, well, what would my therapist say? What would she say in this moment? Let me try and use this. Um, so navigating in that way, but sometimes people need it a little bit longer, especially people who have experienced a significant amount of trauma
Yes.
and continued complex trauma. So sometimes you need it, but then also like you have everything you need in you. Sometimes you just need to be reminded. And therapy can do that. Also, with community, it is such a huge help to have community.
Healthy
And
community. Because sometimes
healthy.
we be enabling people and trauma bonding. We ain't talking about it.
We really do. We really do. We're like, oh, it's like I saw a meme somewhere where it's like we're just two girls saying exactly to each other. Like it's just like when you're in community, like exactly, exactly. Okay, hold on. Are we really challenging each other? Is that what's
Yeah.
really happening? But it's so important to have community, and also we do, it's important to be selfish, yes, and to navigate the self. What is good for you? What are these things? However, we don't want to get too in depth with that to the point where we isolate ourselves from our community. I think a big topic right now is like boundaries. Oh, I'm doing this for my
Girl,
boundaries. These are my I'm not talking to you because of my boundaries.
you being low key
Okay,
abusive. The same thing them other people was doing to you. You abusing them things. That's what you do.
we're not actually addressing what actually went on. We're avoiding the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying that it's boundaries, but we're actually building walls.
Ooh.
I'm
That
talking to
was funny.
myself. I'm talking to myself out here. Yeah, because I'm sure everybody is doing that appropriately. But and then we end up isolating ourselves because we put up all these boundaries. It's like, oh,
Where
nobody wants to
everybody
hang
at?
out. Where everybody at? Oh no, you shut them all out. It's a balance.
Yes.
community and being with self. Relationships are important. And I mean, I won't even dive in deeper about how isolation and individualism on a systemic level is
Hurting.
going to harm
Yes.
us
Yes.
and is hurting us right
Hurting
now.
us.
And
Yes.
the agenda that is being, we need community.
Period. Hard
We
stop.
need to have these conversations. And just because somebody said something you don't like, or it's very interesting. Ghosting, all of that falls into that bucket of isolation, individualism. Me.
Yes.
I'm not thinking about my community.
Ooh.
I don't care what they're doing. It's all about me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, oh, well, what are we doing, really? Because the only way we can really thrive is if we have that support and having healthy community and really healthy conversations.
And if your boundaries are harming you, you're not doing it right.
Right.
Meaning,
Right.
if you've looked around and you've shut everybody out in the name of boundaries, and there's nobody you can call on, or when you do, people are like, oh, you ain't been fooling with me. You cut me off, remember? That's not good, because you do need community. So having that healthy perspective. Have you ever read that book, Boundaries, before?
It's like, yes,
It's really
set
good.
piece, something about it. I think I started it, but
No,
I
not
didn't
that
finish
one.
it.
I want to read that one
Yeah.
too. That's Nedra's book. Nedra. I think I've been saying her name wrong. But it's an old book by it's a white man. Christian book.
Yes,
It's a
with
really
the
good book.
pencil on the
Uh-huh.
front. Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. It
I have
talks
not read
about,
it though.
I mean, if you're a Christian, look it up. But
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not, it is a
Mm-hmm.
really good book, but it applies biblical principles to it. It talks about how we are supposed to use boundaries, and how you use them. If you use them improperly, it could be harmful. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Like, you want to balance it out. Yes, preserve yourself, but preserve your healthy relationships too. You know?
Yes, because it's important. We have to pour into each other in different ways, and it's like, how do you know? How do you know what you're doing for yourself is working if you're not interacting with other people?
Yes. Yes.
You're
That's when I
just
knew
with
I was
yourself.
growing up, girl. When I stopped ghosting dudes, I was like, I don't like how this feels to me.
Right.
Why would I do this to anyone else? This feels horrible.
Yes.
To find out 10 years later, the man who ghosted me was like, girl, it wasn't you, it was me. You were too much of a woman for me. And I've been beating myself up for 10 years, thinking something wrong with me. So I said, I'm not doing that to
Mm-mm.
nobody, because I don't want nobody questioning themselves or their worth,
Yes.
because I don't know how to talk and communicate like a grown up. So I don't do
Yes.
that. That's when I realized, girl, you're growing up. You
Yes.
doing some things.
Like, look at you doing the work. Actually, like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. Yeah. Doing
Yeah.
the work. That's
You know
all.
where I learned that from? I learned that from a therapist locally in Richmond. She's awesome. She is a relationship coach as well. And she taught me how to date essentially, because I was like, girl, I ain't thinking about it. But when my son turned around 3, she started to encourage me just to, like, get into my womanhood, my femininity, learn to flirt, go out, let people be nice to you, let people open doors for you. Girl, I'm in my bag now. It's been 2 years.
Yes.
You can't tell me
Yes.
nothing.
Experience that pleasure of
Yes.
all of the things. Yes.
Yes, she has taught me how to do that, and I feel so grown up. And I know how to have those conversations, and I date better. It's really cool.
Yes. That's so important to be able to step into that and really have the confidence and just move through life and enjoying the things
Yes.
and having these conversations and being like, this is who I am and it is what it is.
On the topic of relationships, because you are a marriage and family therapist, what is that world like? And also, before you got married, you wanted to be a marriage and relationship. Am I saying it right? Marriage and family.
Marriage and family, yep. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when people be saying? I know I be asking you multiple questions, child. My
Uh-huh.
brain just be doing things, but
Uh-huh.
how do you feel about people who say things like, "Well, you ain't married. How you gonna tell me how to, how do you
Yes,
feel about that?"
I've
Yeah,
had a lot of that. A lot of, well, you don't have kids, you're not married. And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
well, I have learned about these things. I have extensive knowledge about these things. I also have experience in different ways. Just
Hmm.
because I'm not married doesn't necessarily mean I don't I can't do my job. I've experienced marriage in different ways, from aunts and uncles to my very own parents who have been married for 36 years. Like, there's avenues in that way, and understanding, like, okay, I get where you're coming from, and we're going to return back to why you're here and what's going on here. Let's talk about you and not me, about the things that are popping up.
Why don't you see some results first, and then we can have that
Yeah,
conversation if needed.
what's happening? Right,
Yeah.
exactly. What was your first question? I think
So,
you asked another question.
I had said, oh, what is that like being a family and marriage therapist?
Yeah, I love it. A lot of people in the field do not like working with couples at all. Um, so it's kind of challenging finding somebody, um,
Mm.
because there's a lot of what happens is, people kind of come in when it's a crisis. So it's kind of like, all right, calming the crisis, rewinding back, what's happening.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't want to deal with that, but I think it's fun. I try to have a good time with my people. I'm like, it doesn't have to be hard. It is hard at times, or challenging, but it doesn't have to be hard. It's right now, I'm seeing a lot of shifts when it comes to relationships, coupling, uncoupling, just across the board, which is why I want to stress how important community and relationships are. I I personally feel as though there's a energetic, maybe a spiritual shift going on, or an attack, if you will, because it's getting really strenuous out
Yeah.
here, and I want to blame the individualism, the
Yes.
so many walls that have been built up. So now there's strain in so many relationships, and it's not just romantic relationships, friendships, platonic, across the board. So it's very, very interesting.
That's interesting. You got the data every day.
Mm-hmm.
You see it every day. So I really appreciate you bringing that to the forefront of this conversation, because I think about things like that often. But of course, I ain't a therapist, child. I ain't in the office. I ain't seeing nobody. But like you said, I'm in community with people. I'm hearing things. I've got friends that are married, people that can't keep a friend, can't keep a job. It's always somebody else's fault, and da 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 da. Thinking about my own life and my own experiences, I'm like, man, something, like you said, is shifting, and we don't value the family unit and even relationships just in general the way that we used to. And I would love to live in a world where that shifts back to where we were. And just because we've always done things a certain way doesn't mean that's the only way. So when we do shift back, of course, it'll be some not new age, but like contemporary thing. Life is different. So relationships and being in community not going to look the same, but those values that we used to have, we lost them joints. I don't know what it is.
Yes. Values are important. I always come back to values. I'm like, what are your core beliefs? Have the values changed? What do those
The
look
only thing people
like?
standing on there is
This
business. And where your values at?
standing on business. Okay, so all right, where are the values? Let's get back to those and let's talk, because change happens. It's going to happen. It's how we're navigating through it. Like, what's going on, and even with relationships, like, people want to blame. I mean, I've even done it, just blaming and pointing fingers. But like, when you reflect, I'll say, when I reflect over even past relationships and different things, and things that didn't um, work out, it's kind of like, okay, as I've continued to grow, it's kind of like that reflection back, like, with relationships, what was my part? Because I played a part. What is that? It's not always, ooh, it was you. Okay, well, hold on.
Yeah.
How did you play a part as well? Because it's two people
Yes.
in the
And
relationship.
also recognizing in retrospection, like, what's the theme here? This keeps happening to me because I'm dealing with that right now. I'm like, hold on, it gotta be me because shit.
Yes.
experiencing this. You know, so I'm actually in the process of doing that now. What part am I playing? Is this a me thing or everybody else? It can't always be everybody else. People
Right.
do be tripping sometimes, though. People
They
do be
do. They
tripping.
do. They
But
do.
there has to be that introspection as well. When you talked about individualism,
Mm-hmm.
if we're going to be talking about the I word, don't forget that the first letter is I. How did
Mm-hmm.
I play a part? Everybody want to be an individual until it's time to be
Yes.
grown.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Until it's time to be grown. Then we want to avoid conversations or blame or really like get into arguments and block people out of our lives completely.
My friend told me the other day she was going to block somebody that she was showing that she cared about, and they weren't receiving it because they didn't
Mhm.
respond a certain way. She said she was going to block them. I said, now he going to think you crazy. We can't
I
do
mean,
that. You can't be blocking people just because.
just because we don't know. And then also, like, I know we all like to think that we're the main character, but we're not.
Ooh,
Not in everybody's life.
ooh.
We're not all the main character. So we have to really think people are going through stuff. Other people have things going on. So just because they didn't respond back to here, that's another thing. Oh, you read my message, you didn't respond. I saw you on Facebook, but I sent you a text message. People have other stuff going on.
Mhm.
And it's kind of stepping outside of yourself and saying, like, okay, let me not make this about me. There's probably, let me just maybe even saying, like, hey, I just want to check in on you. Didn't hear from you. How about we do a check in? Because we're just running around thinking we got this main character energy and
Yeah.
that the whole world revolves around us.
Yeah. Some of the programming that we receive now a lot, especially in social media and like these community events, is it's meant to build people up. But again, that balance has to be there. Like, yes, we want you to be um confident, not arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we want you to take up space in a room, but you ain't the only person. There's a whole bunch of main
Yes.
characters in their own little world in here.
Right.
You know, you got to share the
Yes.
space a little bit. So just being careful with the messaging that we are allowing to program us, because we are acting it out every day, whether we want to
Mm-hmm.
realize it or not. So I love this. Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything else? Because I have one final question. Is there anything else that you want to touch on that we haven't?
No.
Shante, you funny. She said, I'm sorry, I block quick. Don't irritate me. I'm weak.
I mean, that's real too. That's real. I mean, sometimes people do need to be blocked, and
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
part of self care.
Yes.
It can't be. Yeah. But I don't have anything.
What was I gonna say to you? So, I wrote something down here, but we did talk about that. It was one more thing I had. Oh, so to wrap it up on the theme of rest, how are you? What does rest look like for you as a Black woman in business, married, as a mom, all the other things that you have going in your life that I don't know about? Paint the picture for people who are struggling with that. What does rest look like for you, this busy woman? Let us know.
Rest looks like currently I have a blanket right here, constantly at my desk. That's a form of rest for me, grounding. Even in the midst of me doing things, rest looks like leaning on my community and my support system when I need some time. Um, so if that looks like, oh, I want to be in bed by 9 o'clock today, who can help me put the baby down, like do the nighttime routine? Maybe my partner will go and take her down, and then I go to sleep. Rest looks like scheduling naps, making sure I have space in between my day. Because, yes, entrepreneurship and all of the things, like it's a go, go, go. So I have to prioritize what I want to make time for, which is rest. So if that means scheduling, oh, I'm gonna schedule on that. That means scheduling time off because as entrepreneurs, we don't get PTO and we're not thinking about taking off. It's a constant thing. I have to go in maybe quarterly and I put in my calendar I'm going to take off these days. It's important for me to do that because then I'm taking care of myself and I'm also preventing burnout and compassion fatigue. I'm like, oh, I can just, oh, look, I got a rest day coming up. Rest looks like like I said, spending time with my friends, if it's like a PJ night and we're just chilling out, talking, being comfortable, being able to be my whole self, laughter, Sunday dinners with my family. That's rest for me. Um, Blankets, curling up, heating pads, tea, like everything cozy. And also, even like restorative yoga, that's a form of rest too, because you're holding poses and it's not like all of this vinyasa type of jumping up and down poses. It's just like really restorative, supportive poses for long periods of time. So you're just like really laying there and just letting the earth hold you. So sometimes rest looks like me laying down on the office floor. And I'm like, I just need to be here for a
Yes.
second.
Yes. One of my favorite things is my hammock. I feel like somebody rocking me like a baby.
That's, I dream to have a hammock like in the back and
Yes.
just, that's a form of rest too. And it rejuvenates me, it restores me, and it also looks like slowing down with the seasons too. I personally believe that operating by the seasons is best. So when fall comes, I start, okay, I'm about to slow down. December, I really think that we should really be hibernating. Honestly, I think I should be asleep until March. My new year don't start until March anyway.
That's it.
So like just really going into reflection mode, thinking about the year, honing in. I
Yes.
just told myself I need to slow down for December because I can tell I'm moving a little bit too fast. So because I've been tapped into my body and I know, I'm like, all right, we're just gonna slow down December into the winter and then we'll come back in spring. So that's what it really looks like for me. All of those things and more.
I love it. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
a thriver and awesome human, for
You
doing the
too,
work
Sola.
that you do. Thank you. This was wonderful, and I'm glad we got to
Yeah.
share space together. I hope you have an amazing day. If you also want to tell people how they can reach out to you, keep in contact with you, let's do it. Tell the people.
Yes, people. So you've got my Instagram, which is Couch Talk with Chris, CRYS on Instagram.
Is that something
I
that you do? Is that like a series that you do, or just your name on Instagram?
No, it's just my name on Instagram. It's actually the name of my private practice, Couch Talk with Crystal. So you can visit that website too, www.couchtalkwithcrystal.com. That's where you can see all the offerings I have. And I
Pause. If
yeah.
you could find the time in your very busy schedule at some point, Couch Talk with Chris will be a cute little hop on a reel once a month, once a week, maybe, and just say something like deep,
You
you
over
know?
here trying to business plan. I
I'm
can
just
see the
saying,
vision.
it
I can
has a
see the
ring.
vision.
It got a
It
ring to it.
does. It does. I've heard I should do a podcast and different things, but
You
we'll
know,
see.
I didn't suggest that because that's a lot of damn work, okay? That's why I get on here once a month, okay?
It's a
But if
lot.
you do a little quick little reel, say what you got to say, post it, and be on about your business, okay?
And be about my business. That's all I need to do. Maybe a little TikTok here and there, but podcasting, I don't know. It's too many mics out here, so we'll just keep it here. But yes, that's my Instagram and all the things. And where you can find me. Yeah.
Thank you, Crystal,
Thank
for
you.
joining the Soul Seat. Have an amazing day. I'm just going to close out and do a couple announcements, and we finished. Thank you so much. I hope y'all enjoyed
Thank
her.
you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right.
Y'all, that wraps up another episode of Soul Seat Conversations. You can hit that little boop, that little X up there.
Got it.
There you go. I hope y'all enjoy Crystal. I think she is so funny. I think she's so dope, authentic. Who wouldn't love a therapist that feels like their cousin, their big sis? You know, depending on what age group you in, they be calling us aunties now, child. Highly recommend. She is so dope, as y'all can see. And I just want to thank her again for sharing her story. I thank the Soul Tribe family for being so active. Thank you, Shantae, for showing up, being engaged. We love you. If you have a story that you want to share, be considered for our podcast, just go to our website. You can actually go to contact us, but you can email my story at soulriseessentials.com. If you made it to the end and you're watching from somewhere else or the replay, put some hearts. Wait, what did I say? No, put some sunshine emojis down in the comments. And I'll see y'all next month. We do this once a month, okay? So I will see y'all in December. Happy Turkey Day. Y'all get on that email list to see those Black Friday deals because they coming. You're going to get some real deals this year, okay? Thank you all so much for your support. We shipped out something to Texas today. Don't even know you, baby, but I appreciate you for reaching out and supporting the Soul Tribe family in our mission to shine a light on the importance of mental health and wellness, y'all. So again, this is your episode of Soul Seed Conversations. I'll see y'all next month. Remember to mind your mind and shine your light. Peace, y'all. Thank you.